The President of the United States has been impeached a second time out of sheer spite. We'll talk about that today and about the coming conflict that will inevitably engulf this nation. I'm Randall Terry, and this is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance.
Some of you are familiar with the name Saint Augustine. He is one of the doctors of the church. He is beloved by Catholics and by evangelicals and Protestants alike. Matthew Henry, a great Bible commentator, loved Augustine. Spurgeon referred to Augustine. Luther referred to Augustine. So Augustine is one of the great theologians that has been in the earth and been a blessing to really all streams of Christianity. Augustine wrote a lot on just war. Now, for those of you who have heard the name Augustine and heard the name Aquinas, Aquinas systematized his theology. He literally put areas of theology together. And I believe the name we say is Summa Theologica, this tome of theological writings. Augustine did not systematize his writings. So if you want to learn what Augustine wrote about just war versus unjust war, you have to read thousands and thousands and thousands of pages. Now, because of the computer and digitalization, we are able to do word searches like we were never able to do before. But nevertheless, Augustine did not write systematic theology. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a Bible college graduate. I have an undergraduate degree in Christian studies. I majored in the Bible when I was in Bible school. So this is a part of my background. This is a part of my heritage. This is not the purpose of this show, so I rarely talk about it, but it's my wheelhouse. All right. Augustine said that the end of all war, the purpose of all war is, ready? Peace. Now think about how profound that is. The purpose of war is peace. And he went on to say, even the tyrant father, tyrant husband, at the end, what he wants is for everyone in the house to do his will peacefully, for there to be no conflict. So Joe Biden, our president-elect, is talking about unifying the country. He does want peace. But what he wants first, and what Kamala Harris wants first, is surrender. You and I could have peace with every baby killer in the world. Jews could have peace with the Nazis. The Indians who had their land stolen from them could have had peace with our white forefathers. Black people could have had peace on the plantation. All everybody has to do is submit, obey, don't quarrel. Now, hopefully that grates on you. Hopefully that makes you disgusted, because intuitively we know that justice is more important than peace. I want peace. I would love to, like the Bible says, sit under my own fig tree, raise my children, have my children be like olive plants around my table. I would love that. But these are not the times for that. These are the times that demand courage, that require conflict before there can be peace. Now, at the beginning of the show, I talked about the coming conflict that is going to engulf our nation. Conflict can come in many forms. And I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, we will talk about that. And we'll also talk about what happened to the president yesterday, his impeachment. This was a charade. There wasn't a single witness. There wasn't a single fact. It was an embarrassment. But more than that, it was a provocation. Please understand that. It was a provocation. I'll explain why when I come back. Don't go away. In the Rules for Radicals and with people who want power, the discussion is don't let a crisis go unwasted. Seize control. Use a bad situation to clamp down, whatever. So you see what's happened with COVID. You see the areas of the country where there is unthinkable government control, breaking the back of small businesses, putting people into the government trough, turning people who are self-made, independent workers, business owners, saying, "Oh, government, save us." It's transforming our country before our very eyes. Even if the details about COVID and the facts about any potential cures or treatments are being suppressed left and right. But I digress. What happened yesterday with the impeachment was a provocation. Now they're looking at this. They analyze politically every decision that they make. So Nancy Pelosi and her godless henchmen sat around and said, if we impeach Trump a second time, there's 75 million people who voted for him that are going to be embittered. Rather than just, take Biden's lead, let's just calm down, let's lower the temperature, let's unify. Instead of doing that, with a week left to go in his presidency, they impeach him, knowing that the Senate is not going to have a trial, knowing that the Senate is not going to convict him, but they do it anyway. Why? Well, I can think of two reasons right off the bat. One is to cover their tracks. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here a little bit, but you listen to me, and then I'll talk about the provocation. We now know, it's coming out, that the FBI knew that there was a planned assault on the Capitol. The NYPD and the FBI both knew that there was something being planned. This was not spontaneous. That had nothing to do with the president's speech. Okay? This is all coming out now. We also know that the Sergeant of Arms for the House and the Sergeant of Arms for the Senate were both told that something was coming. We know that the National Guard, that someone in authority requested that the National Guard be deployed to protect the Capitol a day earlier. Nancy Pelosi, the Sergeant at Arms, reports to Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi knew. She knew that something was coming. She's in the top of the food chain, people. She knew something was coming. And they didn't prepare for it. I mean, think of a movie, think of a drama, think of a spy movie. Why would you do that? If you know that there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people. I have a friend who goes to the March for Life every year and said it was bigger than any March for Life crowd he's ever seen. Now, I've been to March for Life where there are over 100,000 people. This means it was massive. So if you know those many people are coming to D.C. and they're ticked, they're really ticked, you're not going to deploy extra police around the Capitol? You're going to put a snow fence? Makes no sense. Unless it's war by another means. If Nancy Pelosi knew that they were coming, it would be like setting a trap for her opposition. Let them come in. Let them create a little ruckus. I'm not saying that's what she did. It's possible. Some people along the way knew that this was a potential, and they didn't stop it. And they didn't stop it on purpose. So to what end? Hello? Vilifying Trump supporters. Vilifying the 75 million people that voted for him. He's a racist president. I saw one black congresswoman on TV last night. I wanted to puke. This was a white racist insurrection. What planet is this poor lost soul from? I mean, these are evil people. They're liars. They bear false witness. Bearing false witness is one of the highest crimes against God and men. If you don't know why, look it up. Bearing false witness. Not talking about lying, I'm talking about bearing false witness. It's a judicial issue. So the other reason, the other thing that's come out of this impeachment, so they impeached Trump, but why? No facts, no trial, no hearing, nothing. They're saying the president spurred on an insurrection. Wait a minute, now we know that this was planned ahead of time, had nothing to do with the president. Nancy, you just impeached the president over this. Did you know that there might be a riot? Did you know that there were people asking for the National Guard to be put out? Did the sergeant at arms do his duty and let you know that there could be trouble? And what did you do with that information? See, by impeaching Trump, she can cover her own tracks. She can create a huge smokescreen over here because of her culpability and her negligence, if nothing else, her gross negligence. But we'll go a step further. This impeachment is a provocation that is designed to have fruit in two areas. And I will tell you what those two areas are when we come back. Don't go away. Welcome back, friend. All right, going under the discussion, the premise of this impeachment being a provocation. I mean, let's make something perfectly clear. Legally, if someone is not in office, you cannot impeach them. I mean, do we impeach Thomas Jefferson because he owned slaves? It's absurd. The purpose of impeachment, according to our Constitution, is to remove someone from office. If they're already out of office, then it's over. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. So why impeach? A provocation. They are trying, they are hoping, they are betting that the right wing, the conservatives, the supporters of Trump will overreact. And what would be the two goals once there is some overreaction somewhere? Just like you see it happening right now with the Capitol, with the breaching of the Capitol walls and climbing through the windows and all that. You see it. We're all being painted with the bad brush. People who would never have done that in a million years. We're all somehow now villains and involved in an insurrection, which is stupid on its face. What is their overreach going to be? Or what is their effort going to be? How are they going to use this provocation? Two areas. Number one, freedom of speech. Number two, our weapons, our guns. That is going to be where this clamps down. Now, freedom of speech, it could be about anything. It could be about the villains that control the House and the Senate, could be about the gross negligence of the FBI, could be any number of things. Where's the Durham report, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden's laptop? I mean, go through the list. Quid pro quo Joe, Joe telling the Iranian, or rather the Ukrainian government, if you don't fire this prosecutor who's investigating my son, you're not going to get money from us. There's any number of areas where they want to clamp down and shut down all debate, all speech, all recounting of the facts. And they're in bed with big tech right now to do that. So we're seeing it happen already. But I'm telling you, it's going to get worse. Could go into the area of what defines a marriage, could go into the area of human life and the protection of innocent unborn human life. Any number of areas where the clampdown is going to go. My show could disappear from YouTube like that. I've already got one strike. God knows when the second and third are coming. Who knows? That's, by the way, this is a rabbit trail, forgive me. That's why Fox News Network, and I sometimes fear that they're holding on by a thread. That's why Blaze TV, that's why News One, Newsmax, these other outlets are so critical. And perhaps more importantly, talk radio is so critical because those are the last places where we can have unrestricted access to giving people information and at least discussing things, debating things. Again, I digress. So they will use the provocation of this impeachment to try and get people to react with something stupid, either in words or, God forbid, in actual violence. And then they will use it to clamp down regarding our Second Amendment rights and regarding what we say. What will it become a criminal act to say? I've got to take a break. We'll tie this all up when I come back. Don't go away. Welcome back, friend. During the break, one of my staff asked me, do you think there'll be a civil war? And I said, no. I'm going to focus on that for a minute and explain why. Civil war, by the way, please forgive me, I have a master's degree in diplomacy and international terrorism. So studying war, insurrection, guerrilla warfare, terrorism, this is a part of my postgraduate work. Civil war, what do you picture when you picture civil war? Most of us picture the North versus the South. Lines of men, cannons, uniforms. Some of us might reach back to the Mexican Civil War with the Cristeros fighting the communists. A handful of us might go back to Oliver Cromwell and the war of King Charles, or war against King Charles and Parliament's supremacy versus the king. But most of us think two lines. What we don't think of is, ready? The Revolutionary War. Our War of Independence would have been considered a civil war in England. See, the South wanted to be independent from the North, but the South lost. So we call it the Civil War, and then the country remained united. The colonists wanted to be free from England, and we won. So we call it a War of Independence, but if they had won, it would have been a civil war, and it would have been suppressed. Do you understand? Here's why there won't be civil war in America. Please, and the reason this is important is because there are some people, my inbox gets stuff. You can go online and watch videos. You can see tweets. This is going to push us to war. You hear people talking about the government is going to be taken over by the military to save Trump, and the military won't allow this to happen. And I'm saying to people, you're out of your minds. Every single one of these predictions are false, and anyone who says they have inside information is lying. It's not going to happen. It's all a lie. It's all a fabrication. But I'm going to go a step further. For the foolhardy who sit around and go, yeah, one of these days we're going to have a civil war. Really? What would it look like? Let's just step back and ask, what would it look like? What would you see on TV at night? Do you see a state seceding from the Union? Like South Carolina did? Do you see a state saying, we're done, we're calling up our state National Guard, we're going to protect our border, and if any federal troops come here, the fact that there is already a federal base here is a bit problematic, like Fort Sumter. Think through what would it look like? Now, I'm going to give you a hint to where I'm going. Keep me posted when I've got 2 minutes left, because I got to get a lot in here. When South Carolina withdrew from the Union, Fort Sumter was there. There was a federal military fort there. And the South had to deal with that. And ultimately, they let them surrender. So, what about these bases? Fort Sumter didn't have a lot of men, didn't have a lot of arms. This is 2021. When you think of Fort Hood, when you think of certain conservative states that maybe would want to withdraw from the Union, and then the size of the federal military that is already there. So what would a civil war look like? In scholastic terms, it would be, here's the word that they use, asymmetrical. Now, in the Civil War that we call the War of Independence, the British lined up with white and red uniforms and they marched, right? And when we tried to do that, we got our butts whipped. So with the shot heard around the world, when they were in Lexington and when we got the British running away, what did we do? We hid. We hid in trees. We did what the British would have called guerrilla warfare. It wasn't fair. It wasn't just. It was asymmetrical. It was uneven. To have a war, you have to be able to have troops. You have to be able to transport the troops. You have to be able to communicate with your troops. You have to be able to have weaponry and speed of movement. All right, those elements. Now I want you to think what the federal government has and then what the people of this country have. Troops, we're outnumbered. Weaponry, you've got to be joking, right? Ability to communicate, we're seeing that they're shutting us down right now, and the government controls all the spy network to spy on phone calls and emails. There's no way that there could be anything but something so dark and so subversive that it looked like something out of a horror movie. And then, to what end? To what end would that be? There's not going to be a civil war of any kind of that you and I would think of from the past. I've got to go. We'll keep going with this discussion next time. Pray for our country. Pray for President Trump.